market by a long shot. In fact, this understates Anthem's dominance because it doesn't include the federal employees that are covered by Anthem, as well as some folks that are covered through national accounts but sort of managed by the local Anthem plan. That would add about 40,000 people to that, bringing them up closer or over 300,000. And you can see Cigna and Harvard Pilgrim are also big players in New Hampshire, probably not a surprise. The other takeaway from this chart is you can see how many of those people covered by those insurance companies are either self-funded employers or fully insured. And you can see that Anthem is about half and half, Harvard's about half and half, a little more on the fully insured side. Cigna is much larger on that self-funded side. Their business strategy is to develop products for self-funded employers. You go down from there, it gets much smaller. Aetna, if you're covered by Aetna in New Hampshire, chances are you're under a large employer and you're self-funded and you're outside the regulatory system. MVP, they've been fully insured, and if you haven't heard, they're exiting our market. So we've only got a few different carriers. We've got a bunch of small ones, a few people, but in general, we have a very concentrated market in New Hampshire. The thing is, that's not unusual. Across the country, in 99% of markets, it looks like this. Not necessarily these companies, but just a few of them. Why is that the case? I'll get to that in a second. Next slide. When we talk about competition in insurance markets, there's sort of this theory that if you could buy insurance across state lines, it would be really cheap. Well, when we look at the way insurance companies compete with each other, they compete on a few different areas, but the main factors are their medical claims costs and their insured population health status. What do I mean by medical claims costs? It has a lot to do with the provider contracts. So they don't pay the provider charges. They don't pay the charges at Spear Memorial Hospital or any other hospital. They go in there and they negotiate. They say, well, you know, we'd like to pay you 80% of charges, or we'd like to pay you using a different system that equates to 80% of your charges or something less. And they're more successful if they can go into a hospital, if they're an Anthem, and say, I've got 50% of your commercial members. And if you don't negotiate with me, if you don't give me a good deal, I'm going to make your life really difficult. I'm going to try and send my members someplace else, or I'm going to try and move them out of the hospital. I'm going to do whatever I can to get the best rate with your organization. Well, you saw one of those companies up there was Usable Insurance. How effective is Usable going to be if they go into Spear Memorial Hospital? They probably wouldn't even get a meeting with the CFO. Well, Michelle's pretty nice. She probably would meet with them. But a lot of hospital CFOs wouldn't. I mean, why do it? I mean, they've got 3 members in your community. They may end up in the hospital. And if the company tries to steer them someplace else, like from Concord to Manchester, I don't know, they may lose a member. It's really not in their interest to spend a lot of time negotiating with these insurance companies, but it is in their interest to negotiate with an Anthem or Harvard Pilgrim or Cigna. So that means your largest insurers get the best deals, and it becomes very difficult for a small insurer to offer a premium that is competitive with any of these large insurers. And if you look at the percent of the dollar that we pay in health insurance premiums, almost all of it goes out in terms of insurance claims. On average, it's about 85 to 90%. So if you look at relatively small differences in the amounts paid to healthcare providers, it means big differences to the health insurance company. And so like if you think of the delivery system, the marginal cost of seeing another patient is relatively small most of the time because hospitals are largely fixed costs. On the insurance side, the marginal cost of insuring one more person is really high. So the deals you can get to control those raw material costs are really important. There are some other factors. One of the other main one is the population health status. Some of those small insurance companies have been able to continue to exist in New Hampshire because they insure healthy people. I mean, that's the bottom line. If they can't sell premiums based on their contract rates with providers that